I don't know what that means.
Yeah,
but I do know we're live.
So Dustin and I have come up with a new business idea, and we're gonna volunteer you for it.
Okay.
It's MSP reality TV, and we're gonna take the MSP that swears that they can't get their customer to turn on MFA or can't get their customer to.
My customer won't pay for backups.
My customer won't pay for that, and we're gonna send Wes in to have the conversation, and you get 30 minutes
to close the deal.
To close the deal.
I like it.
But
here's
the
difference.
You're out there and you're listening, and you've got that customer.
So is this like my dream of doing the bar rescue book premise?
Yes.
Yes.
Walk in
Okay.
and
this brings up a good question. It's easy for people like us to do it when it's not my client, right? Because I don't have fear of I can just go in and be bold and brave, and I don't care. I can say the truth because I'm not worried about offending the relationship. And I think that's the big thing that causes MSPs to have hesitation in that conversation because they don't want to ruin the relationship.
I'm going to say this. How good is your relationship? Your customer looks at you and goes, "Mr. Supposed to be my trusted advisor." Nah.
Yeah, right.
I'm not
going to do security because that would be inconvenient.
or I'm afraid to have a conversation about you where I'm losing money, but I'm just going to keep losing money because you're going to be mad at me and try to fire me because I'll start making more
the
money.
relationship with my significant other who beats me.
Oh,
That is where we're at.
Stop losing.
That is where we're at.
But to your point, though, I think it's one of those of after you do it once or twice, it's that getting over the initial hurdle. Everybody's scared. I was talking to a friend of mine, not an MSP business. He has a bookkeeping business. They just had their first they lost their flagship customer that was like 60% of revenue. So at first it was, the typical panic. You've gone through it, right? At the MSP side.
I've seen it. I've never experienced it.
Okay. I have. I had to do layoffs. This was 10 years ago. But they went through it. And it was the first, the sky's falling, this, that, and the other. But then he's like, wait a minute, this isn't that bad. And then the next day he sent me a thing. He's like, and I kind of realized they're assholes anyways. I'm a lot more relaxed now. I was like, see, pull the Band-Aid off.
There's always that example in fifth grade about how Kimberly Clark got rid of the paper mill, and they got rid of the paper mill because they realized even though it was like 80% of their work, it was just 20% of their revenue. And while that was their cornerstone of how their business got started, they said, you know what, let's just do distribution and buy someone else's paper so we don't have to deal with all these people making paper. And that was when they actually became a good to great company for 30 years of record profits.
In 2008, banking crisis happened. Everything went weird. We had a local bank and we did a lot of on-site work. This is the closest I came to losing a big customer. They were spending $40,000 a year with me just on break fix work.
Oh wow!
This local bank, M&T Bank, would call me and go, "Hey, we've got a data center down in the middle of nowhere. Would you go rack a server? It'll show up. You go rack it. Pay by the hour."
You're only going to be driving for 8 hours.
They'd pay me an hour to drive down, 2 hours to work in the data center, an hour to drive home. Never batted an eyelid. Well, when my local bank failed because they were tied up with the bad mortgages and all, we wound up in this situation where M&T bought my local bank, acquired all their IT resources.
Yeah.
And because that was break fix work, my phone just stopped ringing. So $40,000 a year business on like that, and I didn't even get a phone call. So it was that whole. We sat down with the whole team and said every other one of our customers contracted 5 to 7% anyway, just because
Right.
And then that $40,000 on top of it, we basically sat down with everybody and said we're going to go on full on sales push, but it's going to be some tough time. We either got to lay somebody off, or everybody works 35 hours a week for the next until we. We paid everybody 35 hours a week for like 4 weeks. And then there's a something.
I did that. The second time I had to do layoffs, that was how we handled it too. Was we're not going to let anybody go, but everybody's going to take a haircut.
It was hard and it sucked. But we got through it.
So I got some ideas, but real quick, where are we?
Oh yeah, we should tell them.
Yeah. So why are we standing out in the hot sun, dying here in this Texas heat? So, well, that's true. It's the Texas way. Look, I'm dressed the same. Just same as this guy. It's the Texas way. So we haven't answered the question though. We are at Franklin BBQ. I would say probably the world's most famous barbecue place. Debatable if it's the best, but I think it's at least top 3. What would you say? Texan?
It's surely up there.
I mean, what else is in the top 3 to 5?
So next time you guys come, we're going to go drive hours south of here to Lockhart. Is the barbecue capital of Texas.
I've been there.
Yeah. So that's where it kind of starts getting a little fuzzy.
Yeah. Because in Lockhart you have the original Blacks.
Yep.
You have Smitty's, right? Is that where Snow's is?
No, Snow's is
that way. Yeah, that way. We got to go to Snow's. That one's on my list.
We'll go to Snow's next time.
Real quick, can I just say apologies to everybody? If you're like, these guys are standing in a parking lot, we don't hear any audio except for a bunch of ruckus. You saw I didn't give an apology.
I'm still getting hung up on the details.
Well, once again, Restream is showing 0 viewers, as it will often do, because the API is garbage. So who knows? We are live.
So how did we end up here? So what happened? Like, we got to come out here and hang out. We spent the
Yeah,
last-
so
Well, we have one big base.
Yeah.
One massive thing.
yeah, Ninja, y'all are awesome. So we've been talking with Jonathan Crow and just all of the folks at Ninja, Lisa and Hannah. And man, we just have had multiple conversations like, how can we work together? How can we help each other? And they've been awesome. They've been like, well, I'll tell you how. We're running this really cool event called ITX, and why don't you come in and speak? And it'll be a fun conversation. So yeah, we're going to talk about what we did.
Lots of fun conversations. We talked about client retention and what to do to keep the clients around in the morning. We did some breakouts and some.
Did you talk about educating and training your team?
We talked about boardrooms in the afternoon. And we did boardrooms in the afternoon. We were talking about that, and then Kyle and Jay with sales math.
Sales math.
Boiled some brains, but
Yeah, it's always daunting when you go into this and write about you. I'm always still to this day a little nervous, a little grateful, a little humble. But at the same time, it's that old adage. I don't even know what the adage is. My brain's not working as it was yesterday. But you're not good at something until you do it 1,000 times. You fail 1,000 times, and then you get a little bit better. And you still kind of suck, but you know what? You're getting a little bit better. And yesterday, I definitely had a little bit of spooks at the end of the session because everyone was so quiet. And you sit there and you get your own head of like, either one, they're like, yeah, shut up, nerd, we get it. Or two, they're like, oh my God, I've never heard any of this. And they're just digesting it.
I either just did really bad or really good.
Yeah. And that, like, no joke, like, butterflies, I mean, I'm an introvert, so they're still in my gut, like, my actual modus operandi.
did you feel better when people came up and started asking you questions and engaging with you after your
That
talk?
literally was the immediate response. I don't remember the woman's name, but, like, that interaction made me go, this entire trip.
It's always one of those, right? You know, conversations like that. And of course, the Ninja team is not that. We've got a great office down here in Austin. If you're in town, I'm sure reach out to them. I'm sure they'll extend you the invite to come by and hang out. Fantastic to work with, of course. Our friends at Michael and over there too. So great event. Hey guys, how you doing? It's a great event. It was cool to hang out with that whole group. So we got to see the Spasmatics for a few minutes before the old guys decided to hang out in the quieter bar.
Yeah, shout out to Chris Weiser.
Yeah, great. You guys hang out with everybody. Our buddy Dustin who just shows up. Beer in hands. Beer.
Cheers, buddy.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers, mine's over there.
Oh, yeah. Mine's done.
And water.
I drank a beer.
Water smart.
I didn't
Water
really
is smart.
drink. We should have more beer before we get this.
I have more beer.
Oh, okay.
I can fix that problem for you.
The true Texan way.
Right.
Yes.
So, Wes, you're always the more profound with all of us. You always find a way to really bring it in. What was the big standout just thing this last couple days?
So for us, if I can just turn to us for a minute, we still, to be just transparent, honest, we're still figuring out like what's Empath's messaging. What is it that I think we know what we're solving for. We know what we're trying to do. It's the best sound ever. But what we're still learning how to do is message it. One of the things I found myself making some tweaks and adjustments to is when it comes to like what Empath is doing, there's two pieces. There's the onboarding piece. So new people coming into the role, like new people coming into the MSP, maybe help desk tier 1, but maybe it's someone more senior. How do we get them up to speed? How do we make sure there's no tribal knowledge? How do we make sure that we know when they're in the right position? But then there's also the upskill. And upskill is like, okay, you've been here for any amount of time, a month, a year, 5 years, 10 years. How do we get where you want to go? And I think what woke me up to that whole conversation is we talked to multiple MSPs this week that are like, I have tier 1s that have not really wanted to change what they've done for 5 years, 10 years. They don't want to upgrade. They're happy with where they're at. And I'm like, well, that's okay to be happy with your. You don't not everyone has to be ambitious to want to become the CEO. But what happens when they say, but I'm complacent, and we're in a world of technology that 5 years ago is not sufficient. You're operating as a 5-year-old, no changes, help desk tier 1. How much are you costing the org, right? And so that's where upskill becomes critical.
Well, you know what's funny about that juxtaposition? I remember at one point someone asked us, oh, well, how do you renew your content for when Microsoft releases a digital live? That same individual is also saying, oh, well, my tier 1s just don't want to upskill. So really what that's saying is you don't recognize sometimes, even if your employee stays in the same role, they're taking steps back if they're not learning.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
now the world or the industry, whatever you want to call what we do, is moving.
And so what Dustin and I was just talking about before we went live, there's a world where your engineer might have learned the nerdy bits, but haven't figured out how to talk about it yet.
Well, they were
So now,
learning 3 years ago.
so now we've got people, well, that's fine. I don't care when they learn it, right? If they're modern on their tech, they don't know how to message it to their customer. You probably still have, I don't want to turn on today. I don't want to give up my admin rights. And that's more about,
I want to stay 3 versions behind.
but if I understand the tech and I'm going to my customer to try and get them to make a change and they're pushing back on me, then I probably have to work on my messaging, some of my soft skills, and conversations, and those kind of things. We've got to upgrade our engineers there too, so that the technical guy can have the right business conversation when they're outside of the server and talking to somebody that's important. Like that's just a different conversation.
Oh, when I sold my first MSP, 2017, MFA was just kind of starting to come up if you were very mature, but it's like we probably had 10% of our customers on it. And then started my new one, and that was like day one, MFA for everything, like just the help desk, the messaging, even having that conversation. Old MSP, like that wasn't something being talked about. And now on a daily basis, multiple tickets, this MFA thing, hey, I need some help, this, that, the other. So that was the point I was going to make, was like it moves. You got to keep. There was, luckily for me, the first IT job I had, the reason I don't like medical companies, I worked in a hospital. There was a guy there, his name was Kerry, the most rock star tier 1 you've ever met. Dude was almost 50 years old. And every time they tried to promote him, he refused because he said, I like being hourly, I rake in the overtime, but then I can also just walk out the door. I don't have to work nights. I can get home to my kids. He's like, I'm happy, guys. Like, F that. I'm not taking a promotion ever. I will stay here.
Because I had the same thing. I had this guy named Michael. Michael was watching. He was so content, as Alex would call it, being the tier 1 leader. He just genuinely likes the quick pace of I get something, I fix it, I move on to the next thing, and then I get to go home. I don't do projects, I don't do any of these things. But there's value in it, but then there's also staleness. Like, what does it do?
But that's the conversation about balancing rocks and rock stars. I forget who I said this. I listened to a podcast. They talked about this. They said there are people who are the rocks of your business that you can build a foundation on. Yeah, those are the tier 1 guys who can take the ticket, keep the customer happy, deliver on the outcome. And you got to be careful. You got to balance that, because that person is going to want to raise every year. They're going to want to get something back, but they're not super ambitious, and they're not going to be the person who lights the world on fire. But you may also have that CIO who's a total right. You may have them.
We're going to have to order.
This may be the end of the live stream because it's about time to order barbecue. So we love y'all, but we can't miss out on brisket. All right, friends.
Thank you guys. That got abruptly ended. We appreciate you all.
We care about food more.
We appreciate Dustin for bringing beer.